Maybe it caught you in the middle of an afternoon when you stopped in a doorway with no memory of why you had walked there, and the house held its breath around you. A day that should have felt light sat oddly weighted on your chest. You blamed the heat, or poor sleep, or the slow arithmetic of getting older. But some part of you already knew that answer was too small for what you felt. The weight had an edge to it, almost a direction. And few will tell you this plainly. You were not imagining it. Today is the 15th of August, in the year 2026. Take a slow breath and let that date settle, because it matters more than an ordinary Saturday should. 3 days ago, on the 12th, the moon slipped fully in front of the sun and turned the middle of the day to dusk. A total eclipse, high in the sign the old traditions call Leo. For a few minutes somewhere on this earth, the birds went silent, and the air went cold, and the sky wore a black coin ringed in white fire. That shadow swept a narrow ribbon across Iceland and the north of Spain. The first total eclipse to touch the Spanish mainland in more than 100 years. And before long, it was gone. That door has already closed behind you. What holds you now is different and softer and in its own way stranger. You are already inside the corridor between two eclipses, a narrow stretch of nights, 2 weeks long, with a second eclipse waiting for you at the far end. On the night of the 27th, carrying over into the small dark hours that belong to the 28th, the moon will come back around and pass into the shadow of the earth. A lunar eclipse, over in the sign the traditions call Pisces, the moon sliding into the deep shadow the earth throws behind it, and unlike the sun that hid 3 days back, this one you will be able to watch, slow and open, from the first minute to the last. The gate behind you has shut. The gate ahead is not yet opened, and you are here, in the hallway between them, a few steps in, with most of it still ahead of you. You will not walk it alone. Someone has stood in this same hallway before, felt the same weight in the same still kitchen, and come out the other side a little gentler than before. So let this be a hand resting on your shoulder for the next 2 weeks, nothing more and nothing less. There is no test here to pass. There is only a threshold to cross at the pace of your own slow breath, and someone beside you who has crossed it before and can tell you from the far side that the way is kinder than it looks from here. It helps to understand one thing under all this, because it will steady you. This corridor is not a poem someone invented to make you feel special. There is a real machine turning behind it, and an honest reason it exists. Eclipses almost never come alone. They arrive in pairs, sometimes threes, spaced about 2 weeks apart. 2 weeks is half a turn of the moon, the time it takes to travel from new to full. And the reason the pair land so close together is plain once you see it. The moon's path around the earth is tilted, and it crosses the path of the sun at only 2 points. Most months the sun sits nowhere near those crossing points and nothing happens. But for a few weeks each season, the sun passes right through that narrow doorway, and while it lingers there, both the new moon and the full moon can fall into line and darken. That few-week window has a name. The old sky watchers called it an eclipse season, and it comes around only about twice a year and lasts a handful of short weeks each time. Most of the calendar holds no eclipse at all. You happen to be standing in one of the rare stretches when the sky opens its narrow door. So when these particular days feel heavier than the calendar says they should, you are not inventing the weight. There is real ground under the feeling. The sky does stand in a rarer arrangement than usual, and something older in you can feel the tilt of it, the way you can feel a storm coming before the first drop lands. That is worth holding on to through the fortnight. What you are feeling is not a fault in you. Your body is answering something the sky is doing. An old kind of listening it still knows how to do, even after the thinking mind is forgotten. You are not broken. You are tuned. Before you go further, one small thing. If you feel moved to it, down in the comments below, name the sign you were born under, or leave one word for how these last days have felt to you. Something plain will do, whether that word is heavy, or tender, or blank, or wide awake. One word is enough. It helps you feel less alone in this hallway. And it helps the others walking it beside you feel it too. So here is what is moving through the corridor while you stand in it. 5 things, each of them real, each of them dated and written into the sky. and each of them something you may already be feeling in your own hushed way, without a name yet to pin on it. Take them slowly. There is no rush to the far side, and it began without fanfare, not with a bang, not with a sign flashing overhead, but the way a season starts, one cool morning that tells you the year has turned. The work of this corridor is already underway in you, whether you meant to begin it or not. All that is asked is that you walk it with your eyes a little more open than usual. The first is the simplest, and you have likely felt it already. Think back to how the last day or two have sat in your chest. There may have been a swept-clean feeling to them, or a blank one, the way a room feels the morning after you have finally cleared out a cupboard you had been avoiding for years. Emptied, a little bare, not bad, but not full either. Maybe you sat down in your chair one evening this week and found you had nothing left to give. Not sadness exactly, more a clean sort of tiredness, as though something heavy had been set down at last, and underneath that, a slow sense of something starting to fill back in, like water rising into a well you had thought gone dry. The cause of it is plain. A new moon and a solar eclipse are the same event, a moon drawn so near the sun in the sky that its lit face turns away from you completely. Yesterday it did more than turn away. It stepped in front. That is as empty as the moon ever gets, no light at all on its face, the darkest point of the entire month, the true bottom of the cycle. From here, night by night, the moon fattens. It grows from that thin sliver back toward round, and it reaches its fullest at the far mouth of this corridor, the night the lunar eclipse arrives. So the stretch you are walking is a single breath of the moon, drawn from empty all the way to full. If you have felt scraped out and slowly refilling at the same time, that is not a mood swing, and it is not a failing. That is the shape of the fortnight itself, and your body is keeping time with it. Do not be alarmed if you sleep more than usual in these first days, or find yourself needing the hush of an early night. A moon this empty asks for rest, and something in you is wise enough to take it. The second thing is stranger and harder to hold, because it asks you to feel two opposite things at once. Maybe you have caught it this week already, a sense of closing a door and opening a door in the same motion, grieving something that is ending, while a small green part of you leans towards something that has not arrived yet. It can leave you feeling oddly doubled, like standing in a doorway with one foot in the room you are leaving and the other in a room you have never seen. You might meet it in the plainest way, sorting through a closet and lifting out a coat you have worn for years, one that no longer fits the person you have gradually become, feeling both the pang of letting it go and the strange lightness of the empty hook where it hung. And the sky has its own reason for handing you both at once. The eclipse 3 days ago, high in Leo, was the opening line of a brand new set. Late in July, on the 27th, the two crossing points of the moon's path shifted onto a fresh axis, the pair the traditions call Leo and Aquarius, and they will camp there for the better part of 2 years. That Leo eclipse was chapter 1 of a story that will keep unfolding until 2028. Fresh ink. A blank first page. But the second eclipse, the one over in Pisces, belongs to the older story, the one that opened back in September of 2024 and has been running ever since. That older tale is nearly finished. It is the 6th chapter of 7, close to its last word. So this corridor is a bridge laid between two stories. Behind you, a book just opened. Ahead of you, a book about to close, and you are carrying both across the same 2 weeks. No wonder some part of you feels like it is saying hello and goodbye in a single breath. Give yourself room for that. You are allowed to mourn the old book and turn toward the new one on the same afternoon, without choosing between them and without deciding which feeling is the true one. Both are real. That is what a corridor is for. The third thing lives in your head, in the way your thoughts have been moving. For a while now, they may have run bright and big and warm, full of feeling, wanting to be spoken out loud. Think of the evening you found yourself talking longer than you meant to, telling someone more than you usually would. The words coming easy and generous, your own heart feeling a little grand. There is a reason for that heat. The small, swift planet the old astronomers tied to thought and speech has been traveling through fiery Leo, and today, on the 15th, it meets the largest planet of all, the one tradition reads as luck and largeness and yes, mind and abundance, shaking hands in the sign of the lion. It is a say-it-out-loud kind of day, but watch what happens next inside you, because it will turn. Around the 25th, that same swift planet crosses out of Leo and into Virgo, and the flavor of your thinking changes with it. Virgo is the sorter, the tidier, the one who wants the drawer straightened and the half-done thing finished at last. So do not be surprised if the back half of this corridor brings a sudden itch to put your house in order, to answer the letter you have been avoiding, to mend the loose hem, to go careful and small after a stretch of big, warm feeling. You may catch yourself, a week from now, standing at a shelf you have walked past for months, suddenly unable to leave it be. That is not you turning cold. That is the same care wearing different clothes. First it wanted to open your heart, and now it wants to tend your life, and both of those are a kind of love. That is the season handing you a broom after it handed you a fire. The fourth thing is a gift, and it comes near the far end. Perhaps you know the feeling from before, a thing you had been foggy about for weeks, turning it over and getting nowhere, until one plain morning it falls into place all at once, clear and complete, as if a window you did not know was dirty had been wiped clean. Or the feeling of a name you had been reaching for all afternoon, arriving the moment you stop reaching, obvious and complete. A knowing that comes from nowhere and needs no argument to defend itself. When the 27th arrives, the same day the lunar eclipse reaches its peak, that swift planet of the mind slides into the exact heart of the sun. The old astrologers had a name for a planet sitting in that precise spot, burned clean in the center of the light, and they read it as a rare small window of sharp seeing. It lands on the day of the eclipse itself, sitting on one side of the sky directly across from the shadowed moon on the other. Tradition would tell you this is an hour made for clarity. So if, near the close of this walk, some truth you have been circling for a long time stands still and lets you look straight at it, do not brush it away as a trick of the mind. This is the hour the old readers marked for exactly that. Keep something near you to write on in these last days. A clarity like this can arrive and leave in the same breath, and the plainest words caught in the moment are worth more later than the finest ones remembered wrong. The fifth thing is not a single day at all. Think of it instead as the mood of the entire hallway, the air you breathe the entire time you walk it. You may have caught it in the smallest moments. A plain Tuesday errand that somehow felt like it carried meaning, or a short talk with a stranger that stayed with you far longer than it should have. Then a choice as ordinary as which road to take home, one that seemed, for no clear reason, to matter. As though the volume had been turned up under everyday life, and the dull hum you usually ignore had become a note you could hear, and the plain days feel loaded for a reason. All through this corridor, the sun is sitting close to that crossing point in the sky, the doorway the eclipses came through. Tradition holds that when the sun stands near that point, the ordinary hours grow heavier, and small choices start to feel as though they weigh more than their size. Or maybe went the other way, and a plan you had looked forward to for weeks suddenly felt draining the moment it came near, so that you wanted to cancel it and sit in your own quiet house instead. That pull is part of this too. So if the little things have felt strangely large lately, and some of the big things you thought you wanted have gone oddly heavy, you're reading the air correctly. This is a stretch where the ordinary is not quite ordinary, and something steady and old in you has been telling you so all along. And that reddening moon waiting at the end deserves an honest word, because honesty is the ground everything here stands on. When it comes, it will not be a full total eclipse. The astronomers call it a deep partial. About 96 parts of the moon in every 100 will slip into the darkest core of the Earth's shadow, enough to turn most of the face a dim and coppery red, with only a thin, bright rim of silver clinging to one edge. Nearly total, yet not quite. It will not happen all in an instant either. Across a couple of slow hours the shadow creeps over the face, a bite along one side at first, then half, then nearly all, the light going from white to butter to the color of an old penny, before it slides away the way it came. And there is a kindness to how it ends. Unlike the sun that vanished when this corridor opened, which could have harmed your eyes in a heartbeat, this moon asks for no filter and no special glasses at all. You may stand in your own yard and rest your bare eyes on it for as long as you like. It is the gentler of the two gates, and it was made to be looked at. The old almanacs gave that August full moon a name of its own. They called it the sturgeon moon, after the great fish that once ran thick in the northern lakes at this time of year, as the nights first lean toward autumn, and the water the moon fills at the far end of the corridor, the one the traditions name Pisces, is tied in those same old readings to dreams and deep feeling, to the sea and to things that soften and dissolve. So do not be startled if, as the corridor closes, your sleep turns full and strange, and one night hands you a dream more vivid than any you have had in months, one that stays with you past breakfast and will not quite explain itself, or if your eyes fill for no reason you can name, at a song on the radio, at a stranger's small kindness, at the memory of someone long gone. Tradition would call that the water rising in you as it rises in the moon. You need not fear it. Tears are not a symptom. Now and again they are only the pressure of a full heart, finding at last a way out. Now, before the corridor carries you all the way to its end, there is something older worth resting in, because it may be the steadiest thing said here. You are not the first to stand at a gate like this one, not by a long way. That returning shadow at the end of your 2 weeks is not a lone event. It belongs to a family. Eclipses come back in almost the same arrangement, once about every 18 years and 11 days, a span of 223 turns of the moon. The sky repeats itself. Those old watchers found this out for themselves and named that long rhythm the Saros, and the lunar eclipse waiting for you on the 28th is one bead on a string of 83. A single return in a chain that opened long before you were born and will keep returning for more than 1,000 years after. People were counting these beads a long time ago. More than 2,500 years back, in the flat river country of Babylon, sky watchers pressed their eclipse records into wet clay with a cut reed. They watched the shadow return on its long schedule, worked out the rhythm, and used it to say when the next one would come, centuries before anyone dreamed the earth went around the sun. And they kept these sky notes so faithfully, night after night, and year after year after year, that their running record ran on for hundreds of years without a break, among the longest efforts to write down the heavens that anyone has ever made. They read each eclipse as an omen for the king, weighing the hour of the night it fell, the way the shadow crossed the face, how long it lasted, and on which date. An eclipse in the dark hours before dawn, they wrote, could mean the end of a ruling house. And they took that reading gravely enough that, when the signs looked dark, a king would sometimes step down from his throne for a time and set a stand-in upon it, a substitute meant to soak up whatever doom the eclipse foretold, so the true king might be spared. That is how heavily these nights once weighed on the people who watched them. The same shadow that will cross your moon this month once emptied thrones. One of the tablets those watchers left behind still exists, and you could stand in front of it. It rests today in the British Museum in London, a slab of baked clay listing lunar eclipses across a span of years from 609 to 447 before the Common Era. Real hands pressed those marks. Real people looked up on nights much like the one coming and felt some measure of what you are feeling now. Nor were they alone in it. Half a world away, in ancient China, other watchers kept their own careful eclipse records, in their own script, under their own emperors, having never met a single soul in Babylon, and their court astronomers watched the sky for so many centuries that their chronicles rival any kept on earth. Two peoples who could not have shared one word between them, moved by the same shadow to the same small acts, to look up, to mark it down, to take it as something that mattered. Sailors on dark water, shepherds on cold hills, mothers at the doors of their houses, all of them tilting their faces to the same red moon and feeling the size of it. That instinct in you tonight is not new. It runs back further than any of the stories, older than any of the names. So when you feel the pull of the sky this fortnight, you are not falling for a superstition. You are joining a line of watchers thousands of years long, every one of them standing where you stand at a gate exactly like this one. And the corridor makes a promise here. One, it is important you hear clearly. Whatever these 2 weeks hold for you, it counts. If the days ahead bring you vivid dreams and sudden knowings and a heart that keeps brimming over, that is real, and it counts. But if the days ahead are plain and grey and uneventful, if the moon fills and empties and nothing at all seems to stir in you, hear this, that counts every bit as much. A calm fortnight inside an eclipse corridor is not a test you flunked. There is nothing in it that proves you asleep, or behind, or missing some gift the others are getting. Some of the deepest crossings a person ever makes happen with no fireworks whatsoever, in a life that looks, from the outside, as if nothing at all is happening. Think of the ordinary morning someone finally forgives an old hurt while pouring the coffee, and never says a word about it to anyone. No sign in the sky marked that. It changed a life all the same, in a kitchen, on a grey Tuesday with no witness but the coffee going cold. The sky keeps no scoreboard. Nothing you feel here has to be big to be true. You are not required to have an experience. You do not owe the sky a story. A calm passage through this gate is a complete and honest passage, and you can let yourself have it without a shred of guilt. One gentle caution, offered the way a friend who has walked this before would offer it. A corridor like this can stir strong feeling, and strong feeling has a way of whispering that you must act, and act at once, and act big. Be slow with that. This is not the fortnight to make a large and final choice on the strength of a single wave of emotion. The wave will pass, the way every wave passes, and the choice will still be there when calmer water returns, ready to be made with clearer eyes. Let the big decisions wait for the far side of the gate. And one plain thing said with care. If the heaviness in your body or your heart grows into something that will not lift, something that sits on you and stays, please do not carry it alone. Reaching toward a trusted person, or toward a doctor or a counselor, is not weakness. Reaching out is one of the braver and wiser things a person can do. The sky will keep. It has kept for billions of years, and it will still be waiting when you are steadier. You come first, so let the last of this settle softly over you. You are not the exception. There is no one soul singled out by the heavens for a special fate, marked apart from everyone else. And it is not you. Nothing lonely sits in your place here, and nothing chosen in that grand and heavy way. You are one more person, in good and ordinary company, walking the same 2-week hallway, that millions are walking beside you at this same hour, that thousands walked before you drew your first breath, that thousands more will walk long after your name is forgotten. Picture the great hushed crowd of them, ordinary people across the ages, standing in their own kitchens and yards and doorways, looking up at the same reddening moon. You are a thread in something woven long before you, and it holds you whether or not you ever feel it pull. That is not a smaller thing than being chosen. It is a warmer one. To be ordinary inside something ancient is its own kind of belonging, and it asks nothing of you but that you show up and look. You do not have to earn your place in this corridor. Being special was never the price of the sky. You were born under it, and it has been turning over you every night of your life, and it will turn over you tonight, ordinary and faithful and yours, if you would like a companion for the rest of this walk. For the night the moon comes back to full and slides into shadow at the closing of the corridor, think about subscribing, and this channel will be here to meet you at the gate when it opens. But before you go, hold one question and let it stay open rather than answered. In the 2 weeks ahead, as one book closes behind you and another begins, what is the one thing you feel ready to carry across the corridor, and the one thing you are finally ready to lay down at the gate and leave there? And when that reddened moon climbs the sky at the closing of your 2 weeks, step outside for a moment and look up, for the far gate will be opening, and this walk will begin again.